Hey everyone, welcome back for another video. My name is Tanya for those of you that are new here, and I'm a watercolor and acrylic artist. So I recently got commissioned to make mini little floral paintings for a bridal shower. So I wanted to take you through the process of how I create them. I hope you enjoy the video. So today's video is going to be a little bit different. I'm actually going to show you the process of when I paint a commissioned piece for somebody. I was commissioned by somebody that wanted to have 18 mini little paintings. They're like 2.5 by 3.5 little paintings, and they're going to be of wildflowers. The bride and groom live in Colorado, so they chose some flowers that are kind of growing by their area that they live in. And we're going to be painting 18, or I should say I'm going to be painting 18 little mini paintings for them to give away at the bridal shower. So I sectioned off my watercolor paper so that I could do 9 little paintings on each page. And they're going to be very similar, obviously. I started 2 already. And I'm going to be doing these in watercolor brush pens and a little bit of regular watercolor, my Winsor Newton watercolors as well. They're going to be a little bit different, each one. Obviously, they're hand painted. They're not going to be exactly the same. I'm going to reposition some of the flowers in different areas. We also went out and picked out little frames. We just got these at Michael's. They're 2.5 by 3.5 little frames. So we chose one more in a grayish blue color. So that's one look that some of the women are going to be getting. And here's another one. It's kind of like a blush pink. So that's another one. So when these are all done, I'm going to be cutting them apart and inserting them in these 2 frames here, 18 of them. All right, so I just wanted to show you my process a little bit. So like I said, I did 2 already, and I'm going to start doing this one over here. Get that page out of the way. So what I did was I just kind of looked at the photos that the couple gave me of, like I said, the flowers that are growing by their home. And some of them were taller. I don't know if they were like little snapdragons. The photos they gave me were very far away photos. I couldn't exactly tell what flowers they were. So I'm just going to be penciling in some of the flowers that I want a little bit taller. And again, I think these were snapdragons. I'm not really 100% sure. And let's see, I have 1, 2, 3. I have 2 in the lighter shade and 1 in the darker shade on each painting here. So I think I'm going to have another one come out this way. And again, this is just very whimsical. It's not a close-up of a flower. I'm not getting very detailed. And I'm going to be doing this mostly in my watercolor markers. I'm going to just kind of put in some just little round, like little blobby shapes of where I want some of the other flowers to be. All right. Let's see. I'm going to start with my light purple. The brush pens that I'm using is the Tombow. I've got the Arteza as well, but for some reason I picked the Tombow for these paintings. So this one here is a 685. The Tombow brand does not have names. They just have numbers. And I'm going to go in and I'm just going to kind of trace around what I just did. Just very, very loose. A very loose style. Nothing detailed at all. Because once you start putting the water on this, it's all going to start blending together beautifully. And there's not going to be much detail. I do go in at the end. I should have mentioned this. I do go in at the end with my Micron. I'm going to be using a number 2, the archival ink. And I'm going to be just putting in some leaves and some line work at the very end of the painting. This one here, I want to be a deeper purple. So there's a little bit of variety. And I'm just going with a shaky hand, just doing these little blobby marks here, kind of in the shape of the flower. And let's see, I'm going to pick up, this one here is a 755. It's more of a reddish pink. And I'm going to leave the centers white. All right, and maybe I'll do another one down here. And let's see, balance it off, do another one down here. And I'll put some more up here. I'm going to put in some red ones too. So this one here is an 856. It's a deeper red. And these I'm just going to do more of a a tighter flower, not as loose. I'm gonna leave the middle part white again. Let's do another red one here. And yeah, that's enough. And then I'm gonna go in and I'm gonna do some yellow ones. Let's go ahead and use our 993. It's more of a golden yellow. And you can erase your pencil marks before you put the water on it. That's one thing I did find out, that your eraser marks can come off as long as you don't put water on the page yet. And then I want some, yeah, let's do another one over here. I also want some sunflowers. So they had these really cool, they had like two different types of sunflowers in their photos. One was just more like, it was like a circle, and then it had like these like little, the petals were just very skinny and long, almost like a sun. I mean, that's obviously why it's called a sunflower, but it just looked exactly like the sun with all the little lines, all the petals. They were very thin. Let's do a different type over here. This one will have more of a golden and thicker petals. And then I'll do a couple of the lighter yellow in there as well, because once we put the water on this, it's all going to start to blend together and it's going to be beautiful. And I think I'm going to give this one here just a little bit more of a center like that. And I'm going to put in some yellow, more of the brighter yellow down here as well, just to throw it off a little bit. All right. Okay, so before I apply my water, I'm going to go in and just erase some of my marks that I did. So that's basically what it looks like right now. I'm going to take my Grumbacher, no, I'm sorry, this is not Grumbacher. This is my Princeton Velvet Touch brush. It's a number 2. So I'm going to be using this one today. Dab it in some water. Where's my paper towel? Got my little rag right here. I'm gonna dab it off on my rag so there's not too much water on there. And then I'm just gonna start blending in. Again, just pouncing it along like a shaky hand. I'm not really brushing, I'm more pouncing than brushing. And I wanna let that watercolor just bleed to the white paper. So like I said before, I didn't put in a lot of see here, I didn't fill in these little circles. That's why I just want the watercolor, so I've got lights and darks. I want the watercolor just to fill those in. So I've got lights and darks. Look how pretty that is. So it starts just forming the flower for you. As long as you've got the right little shape of this flower, or any flower, it's gonna start resembling it. And it gets a little bit, they're like really long triangles. So it's like got a little, it's got like the little top here, a little point, and then it just gets thicker and thicker as the blooms go down, because these are all individual little flowers on here. All right, let's go ahead and do the dark one. So here again, see, I didn't fill in these circles. They're just left nice and open. I want my lights and my darks in there. That's the, one of the beautiful parts of this watercolor brush pen. You can create some really beautiful lights and darks just by one little stroke of the marker. Add some water, and all of a sudden you just get these lights and darks. I love that. And when it dries, if it dries a little bit lighter, because it usually does, watercolor usually dries a little bit lighter, you can always go in and just put another little layer on there, or even add different colors if you want some different colors in there. All right, I washed off my brush really well because I don't want to get pink or purple up in my sunflowers. So I'm just going to put some water on my sunflowers, and it's going to bleed to wherever you put that water. So I'm going to go around and just kind of hit each petal. In the middle. And then these little tighter knit flowers down here, these little circly blobs. I'm gonna do all the red and pink ones first, and then I'm gonna hit the yellow ones, I don't want to, I don't want the red bleeding into the yellow. So that's why I'm doing all the darker ones first, or you can do all the lighter ones first. It doesn't really matter. Just do light or dark at one time. Don't sit here and mix the red and the yellow together because you'll start getting oranges and stuff. All right, so just adding a little bit of water, and I'm going in this like little circular motion. I don't know if you can see my brush doing that. It's just like a little circular motion, and I'm letting the water just take over and do whatever it needs to naturally do to this watercolor marker. And then at the end, if I think that it needs to be reshaped, I can always go back in and reshape it either with water or with my watercolor brush pen again. All right, now I think I did all my red ones. I'm gonna go in and do my yellow and golden ones. And I'm doing the same motion, just kind of a circular, little circular motion here. Just water. If you think that some of them need to bleed together a little bit, like I love when things just start to bleed together. If you feel like it hasn't bled together enough, you can always go in and add more, but we haven't even added our greenery yet. So we should probably just add some greenery and see how we feel. And then we can always go back in and add a little bit more. And then we're gonna get very detailed also with, well, not very detailed, but we're gonna get semi-detailed with our archival ink pen at the end here. I just feel like it needs a little bit more right here. So I'm gonna be adding in, oh, you know what? I think I forgot to do this one really pretty. Let's see, what color was this? This is down here, this is just my little swatch. Yeah, it was this color. I forgot to add in one flower that was really, really cool. It's this like pink one in here. I don't know if you can see in here, it's a longer pink one. Let's see, now that I've got all that going on, let's do it over here. And this one here was more like, for some reason, it was like sets of 2 going down this flower and then the point. So let me do that. I'm gonna dab in my water, get my lights and my darks, start letting these bleed in together a little bit. I'm leaving room for my stem there because it had this really cool stem just coming right out. It was like pairs of just 2 on either side of the stem. It was really cool flower. I don't know what kind of flower that was, but they grow it in Colorado, obviously. All right. Really pretty. All right, so right now, that's what the painting looks like before we add our greenery. And I'm gonna let these dry before I start adding some more detail in there, but right now I'm gonna start adding some of my green. So I'm using 2 different shades of green, a 249 and a 245. One's a little bit more of an emerald, one's a little bit darker. And I'm just gonna start putting in some stems. Now you wanna make sure before you go in and start adding some of this greenery between all your taller flowers, you wanna make sure these flowers are dry. And my flowers are not dry yet. So I'm gonna just work on the bottom down here and put in some stems. And you don't have to put in stems for all these flowers. We're gonna be going in with a nice wash of sap green in a minute. This one needs that. And then I'm gonna go over and I'm gonna use a little bit of that more emerald green. And right now you can't see really the difference, but once you start adding water to it, you can definitely see the difference in the 2 greens. And I'm just going in and just adding some stems and some leaves here and there, just to break it up a little bit. All right, I'm gonna go ahead and dry these flowers because I wanna add the greenery in there. So now that I just dried that, I am going to add a little bit of greenery right in between some of these little flowers in here. And this one here, I'm gonna use the lighter green. Let's see, this one here was really cool. It was kind of like a line coming down, and then it had like these, it was almost like they were like that. Just, it was very, I don't know, I'm gonna have to look that up and see what kind of flower that was. That was cool. All right, so what I'm gonna do now is I'm gonna take a little bit of my, let's see, I think this is my yellow ochre. I'm just taking regular watercolor. I'm dabbing it in my yellow ochre, and I'm just going to be giving these a little bit more of a center. Not too much water on my brush. And some of these down here too. Maybe not all, but some of them. All right. And I'm gonna go in and I'm still using my number 2. I'm gonna go in and just add a little bit of water onto my stems and my leaves that I just made, just to get them kind of juicy and wet at the moment. And then we're gonna add in our regular sap green watercolor to pull this all together. So again, I've got to make 18 of these, and they're not all gonna look exactly the same because it's hand painted. That's the beauty of being hand painted. It's not a reproduction that they all look exactly the same. So everyone's going to be getting something a little bit different. It's going to be a little bit more, custom, hand painted, a little bit more special than if you just went and bought the same exact painting for everybody. All right, I'm going to add a couple of leaves. Actually, I think, yeah, I'm going to do that with I'm pulling in a different green right now. This is a 126. It's a little bit more of an olivey green, or a limey green, actually. I'm going to add some different kind of green in here. Get that damp as well. So it's just kind of going in layers. You just kind of, do one layer first, which was my flowers, then do the second layer, which is the stems and the leaves with your watercolor brush pen. Get everything nice and wet. See if you need to go over anything. And then the third layer, I'm going to show you, where did I put my bigger brush? Okay, so I'm pulling in my Grumbacher, and it is a size 6. I'm going to get it nice and wet. I'm just going to be dabbing it into my sap green. That's all I did was my Winsor Newton sap green. And I'm going to start going over some of my greenery. I do not want to touch my flowers. If it does, it's not the end of the world, but I'm going to try my best not to touch the flowers. I can always go in with a smaller, I'm actually going to do that. I'm going to move over to my smaller brush as I get up here, but down here I just wanted a little bit of a bigger brush, just to fill in my areas a little bit better. And you want most of the greenery. See how on these I have most of the greenery down here? You're gonna wanna thin it out as you go up, because you don't have as much thick greenery. It's more just like the stems and the leaves just kind of thin out as you go up. All right, I'm going to get my number 2 wet again, and I'm gonna start going over some greenery. Now, the watercolor brush pens, once they're wet, you can start maneuvering that paint everywhere. So if you want to bring it up a little bit more, if you want to bring it closer to your flowers, I'm going to start filling in some of this white paper that's showing down here. Get a little bit closer to the flowers and between them. I'm just moving my brush. I'm just kind of wiggling my brush around, and I'm pulling that green marker that's already on my paper. I'm just pulling it around. I'm not applying more green. That's how you get your lights and your darks, because the stuff that you applied with the marker directly is dark. When you just start applying water and a brush over it, you get your lights. And you can also fill in, if you want, with some different kind of green. I'm gonna pick up, what green is this? I think this is my Hooker's green. And I'm just gonna start dabbing in a little bit of my Hooker's green, just to give it some a little bit of dark here and there. If you wanna go over some of the leaves that you did, give it a little more detail. So it's really fun to play with the markers, and then at the end, if you feel like you need to add regular watercolor, that's just the look. I like using both. I'm gonna pull in, let's see, what color is this one? This one is a Perm Rose. I'm gonna be pulling in a little bit of Permanent Rose. I think this was my Winsor Newton. And I'm just gonna be giving, just on one side of these little reddish pink flowers, I'm just going in with a little bit of my Permanent Rose and giving it a little bit of a darker value, just on one side of these flowers. And I'm doing it on the same side. You don't really have to, but I'm just doing it like my light source is coming from this way, so my shadows are maybe more on the left side of my flower. That's if you want to just get a little bit more technical, but you can just really add it wherever you want. These are just fun little paintings, nothing serious. All right, add a little bit more, and then when that dries, if you feel like you want to add a little bit more, you can. I think I'm going to add a little bit up here on the left side of these taller flowers, which I think are snapdragons, but I'm not sure. Okay, so that's nice and dry. I think what I'm going to do is add a little bit more of my sap green. I came down a little bit further with the flowers on this painting than I did with these two, just a little bit further. So it kind of changed the dynamics of the painting, but that's okay. Like I said before, they're hand painted. They're all going to be different. I'm going to add a little bit more of my sap green down here just to darken it up. All right. And then I am going to take, actually, let me dry this again, and then I'm going to take my archival ink and go over it. I wanted to show you one more thing. If you wanted to, let's see, do I have a white up here? Yes, I do. I've got my, I believe this is my titanium white. I'm just going to take a little bit of my titanium white on my brush and just go over some of my flowers. If you want to lighten up certain areas, you could also take your brush and just water and lighten it up and just keep dabbing. I sometimes just like to add white to it. And I'm just lightening up the areas that are on the right. Okay, so I went in and I put a little bit of my white just on the right side of some of my flowers just to lighten it up a little bit. And now I'm going in with my archival ink. Again, I want the same kind of motion as I did with my my brush with my pen. So it's going to be a shaky little motion. I'm just going around. It's very line work, very illustrated. I'm just going around some of my flowers, not all of them. And I'm just, with a shaky hand, I'm doing like little lines here of just like the petals and then the middle part of the flower. And I'm just going to pick and choose which flowers I want to add a little bit of my line work. Maybe this one up here. And then this one. I'm not going to do much of my line work on the top flowers. I just want to bring in a little bit more of the black down here. So I'm going to just do like little leaf shapes down here. Even if there's not a leaf, I'm just going to go in and do a little stem and a little leaf. So it looks like there are some stems and leaves down here because a lot of this is just washed out green, which is the look I wanted. But I just want to go in and put in some detail now. All right, so I have done 3 now. I've got 15 more to go, 6 on this sheet and 9 more on this sheet. Then I'm going to cut them all apart with my X-Acto blade, and I'm going to put them in these cute little frames. So some are going to be the pinkish blush, and some are going to be more of like a grayed down baby blue. And if you want these frames, I got them at Michael's. So Michael's does have these. I think they were like $3 or $4 a frame. So when I get done, I will show you what it looks like. Thanks so much for watching the video. I hope you liked it and learned a little something. And if you did like it, please give me a thumbs up, and you can make a comment in the comment section. And don't forget to subscribe if you want more videos like this one. I hope you have a great day. Bye.